Judges in Britain should be made to reveal who they vote for and what their political views are. A judge called Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor has just opened the floodgates of Britain to hordes of people from Gaza. People that neighbouring countries don't want to take. This unelected man decided that a refugee scheme designed specifically for Ukrainians that actually closed last year can now be used by people in Gaza. But who is Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor? Well, his father is a Guardian journalist, or at least was anyway, who campaigns against Israel and tougher immigration laws. His father, Richard Norton-Taylor, reposted this on social media.
My name is Amos Goldberg. I'm an Israeli professor of Holocaust studies. For nearly 30 years, I have researched and taught the Holocaust, genocide and state violence. And I want to tell whoever is willing to listen that what's happening now in Gaza is a genocide.
Richard Norton-Taylor also signed a petition for Haringey Council to stop supporting genocide in Palestine. He also signed a petition opposing the illegal migration bill. And in a video for BBC Two's Daily Politics show in January 2016, he had argued that Britain should return the Falkland Islands and Gibraltar. I'll say return, of course, but anyway, there we go. If Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor has anything like the same politics as his father, then in my view, he is in no position to be passing judgments on whether Palestinians should come to Britain. Let's have a little look, shall we, at Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor's back catalogue of cases. He decided that an Afghan rapist who preyed on sleeping women should not be deported because the Taliban might take a dim view of him. He decided that a refugee who murdered his wife and lied about being bisexual should not be deported to Bangladesh because of Article 3 of the ECHR, i.e. he might have suffered inhuman punishment back home. Obviously, what about his wife is the obvious question there. Time and time again, he is interpreting the law in a way that allows refugees, asylum seekers, illegal immigrants and criminals to stay in Britain. What is the logical explanation for that? Is he an open borders fanatic in a wig and a gown? He may well deny that. Well, we asked the court if he had a hidden political agenda, and they said they couldn't comment on individual cases, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Because wouldn't you just say no? Wouldn't you just say no? Wouldn't he have told them to say no? Anyway, time and time again, we see decisions from members of our judiciary that beg a belief. A Pakistani paedophile who abused prepubescent girls was allowed to stay in Britain because it might harm his children if he left. An Albanian criminal can't be deported because a judge took pity on the claim that his son doesn't like foreign chicken nuggets. A judge delayed the deportation of a Caribbean woman because her Latvian husband doesn't like Caribbean weather or local cuisine. And can I just say, in the last few minutes, I went outside earlier, and my producers handed me a story that's in the Telegraph. And I'm going to read the headline to you. Failed asylum seeker can stay in UK because she joined a terror group. Now, the story here is that she's from Nigeria and she came to Britain and she joined a terror group that is obviously at war with whoever's in charge in Nigeria, and that meant that we couldn't send her back to Nigeria because they might kill her or put her in prison. They couldn't find any evidence of her taking part in any of this banned terror group's meetings or having anything to do with them. But an upper tribunal judge, Gemma Loughran, has ruled that she should be allowed to stay in Britain. In fact, she overruled a previous meeting. What's going on here? Who are these people? Seriously, you'd be forgiven for thinking that they are biased in favour of these migrants, wouldn't you? But let's get back to Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor, shall we? Who runs Britain? Is it the people? Is it you and me? We have voted en masse, time and time again, to reduce legal immigration, illegal immigration and deport more foreigners. Is it the government who's in charge? To give Keir Starmer his credit here, he opposed this judge's decision. The Labour government was democratically elected with a huge landslide. Should they not be in charge here? No. One man, Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor, who nobody ever voted for, he is the one with the power to say that Britain should take in Palestinians. But not just Palestinians, no, because this verdict could, in theory, be applied to anyone in any conflict zone anywhere in the world. There are currently 45 armed conflicts in the Middle East and North Africa, 35 in mainland Africa, 21 in Asia and several in continental Europe. Do immigration tribunal judges like Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor think that they should all be allowed to come to Britain? Now, people say, hey, look, well, we can appeal this in the Supreme Court, can't we? OK, great. Well, how do we know the Supreme Court isn't stacked full of Hugo Benedict Norton Taylors? And then, of course, we could go to the ECHR. Well, it's pointless, isn't it? Because we know how they'd rule, don't we? And we know that Keir Starmer's great mate, the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, has just gone on record saying this.
Now, I'm proud to say that since taking office, this new United Kingdom government has taken steps to uphold our obligations and the international rules-based system. The new United Kingdom government will never withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights or refuse to comply with judgments of the court.
I could weep for the future of Great Britain. With verdicts like this one, there is no future. Britain will be turned into a plot of land that third world immigrants flock to, some of them with backward ideologies and medieval attitudes towards women and girls, and others just hoping for a life on benefits. If Gaza comes to Britain, I think we can wave goodbye to much of the Jewish community, can't we? They'll be off. Is that what we want, is it? I mean, there is a case study about a country that let a load of Palestinians in. That country's Denmark. Shall we see what happened? Oh, OK, then. Of the 321 Palestinians they took in 1992, 64% of them are criminals, 34% of their children are now criminals, and a load of them are on welfare. In June, a survey found that 40% of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank actually supported Hamas. I mean, there is a reason why Gaza's border with Egypt looks like this, isn't there? There we go. Have a bit of that. All right. They don't want them, do they? But Hugo Benedict Norton Taylor has decided that we should suffer them. People say we're not like the United States. We don't have a politicised judiciary. I fundamentally disagree with that. And I think the evidence of the decisions made in immigration cases supports me. We are told judges are beyond contempt. They are beyond reproach. I disagree. It looks a lot like some of them are activists, and they need to be exposed. Before I go to my panel, I'm joined by immigration solicitor Ivan Sampson. Ivan, thank you very, very much. So should judges be made to reveal who they vote for and what their political views are?
No, they shouldn't. It's totally irrelevant, to be honest. Judges are there to uphold the law and apply the law without fear or favour. The separation of power between the judiciary and the executive is fundamental in a healthy democracy. It prevents the abuse of power. It protects. Look, Patrick, you have a right to be with your family. I've got a right to be with my family. I expect the judges to uphold that right and apply the law evenly.
But Ivan, he's taken an interpretation of the law that nobody. The British public disagree with this. The British public fundamentally vote against this. The government of the day disagree with it. The opposition all disagree with it. Right, and you've got Hugo Benedict Norton Taylor, who it appears comes from a family that is, I would say, hardline left-wing and believe that a genocide is going on in Israel. And he alone has the power to dictate our immigration policy. I think that's fundamentally wrong. I mean, don't you?
No, I don't. And I've sat through many immigration cases in Article 8. Article 8 cases, Patrick, are fact-sensitive. Okay?
Not in this case, is it? Because based on it's based on a Ukrainian scheme that closed a year ago. How is that fact-centred when we're talking about people from Gaza, Ivan?
Well, if you stop interrupting me, I'll explain to you how it's fact-sensitive. Article 8 depends on relationships. Now, relationships between family, adult members must be more than emotional ties. You said that it opens the floodgates. It doesn't. Not at all. It doesn't open the floodgates because what this family has done is persuaded the judge that their relationship with their family members goes beyond emotional ties and the threshold is very high. If you think we're suddenly going to get millions of people come to the UK...
Well, you say that, Ivan, but it's the same judge who was very easily persuaded that someone couldn't be sent back, an Afghan rapist couldn't be sent back because of the Taliban. He appeared to be very easily persuaded about a Bangladeshi wife murderer not being able to go back there. I mean, goodness gracious me, I hope if I ever get in trouble, all I have to do is to persuade this guy, because it just sounds like it's the easiest thing in the world.
Well, look, you said Keir Starmer's in control. Keir Starmer said we'll uphold the law. Yeah, that's what he said. We'll uphold the law. He said we're not coming out of the convention. Well, the convention has a thing called Article 8. the protection of your rights and my rights.
It's not protection of my rights, Ivan. I don't really need it, Ivan. No, this is the thing, mate. I don't need it, and you don't need it, because we don't go around breaking into other countries and committing heinous crimes and then needing to rely on it in a court of law and hoping Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor turns up and gets us out of jail. We don't really need it, mate. All right? We're all right. It's these people who do, and it seems to always come down in their favour. But look, Ivan, I am very worked up about this because, by the way, I think Britain is gone. Britain is gone, and people like Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor need to take account for some of the decisions that they are making. But, Ivan, thank you very much. Ivan Samson, immigration solicitor. Let's get the views of my panel this evening. We have got, there we go. We have, of course, got the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We've also got landlord activist Adam Brooks and Nina Mishkov as well, broadcaster and journalist. Look, if I sound angry about this, I am very angry about it. I just think this case is ridiculous. I mean, what do you make of this, Mark? I mean, who is this guy, you know?
Yeah, it's quite, I mean, a real name to conjure with, isn't it? Hugo Benedict Norton-Taylor. Yeah. Look, it's ludicrous. The lawyer you were just talking to there highlights Article 8 of the European Convention of the Human Rights Act. And that article says in broad terms you have a right for your privacy and your family life to be respected. Here's the problem. That is open to such wide interpretation that any judge could sort of say, oh, well, you know, your family life includes whether your kid likes chicken nuggets or not, or, you know, such like. So really what the politicians have got to do is either to repeal that article, to get out of ECHR, repeal that article, or at the very least to stipulate what is meant by a family life that will be protected and what is on the wrong side of the line, to make sure that Norton-Taylor and judges like this have far less discretion, that are actually penned in to pretty clear guidance from Parliament. And in this other case you were mentioning about this Nigerian woman, I mean, it's unbelievable. So in order not to be sent home now, you can join insincerely some kind of weird extremist group which would put you at risk if you were sent home. So you pretend to and even the judge accepted that her membership of this group was not sincere. I mean, it seems to me if you are deliberately, artificially placing yourself in danger of being persecuted by the authorities with no sincerity whatsoever, that's on you.
Should judges now, or tribunal judges, whatever it is, be made to reveal who they vote for, what their ideology is, and even if that involves some kind of lie detector test?
Yeah, look, I'm not an expert in law, but what he said there is, law has to be followed. But in sentencing guidelines, there's been many cases recently. What about the case where the guy threatened the Jewish supermarket in London with a huge knife, waved it about, escaped jail? That judge could have put him in prison for a long time. Didn't. We are seeing cases like Hugh Edwards, paedophiles caught with images of babies not going to court because the judge...
Or not going to prison,
Not going to prison because the judge doesn't sentence him that. They can do, OK? So a lot of the time it is these judges' decisions. These judges do not live in parts of London or this country where asylum seekers and illegal immigrants will cause them a problem. They are champagne socialists. And as you said, a lot of the time, I believe they are activists.
Well, Nina, is it fair to say that some of these judges are activists? I mean, to me, the reason why I'm getting so worked up about it now is because of the relentless cases. And I mean, the one fell in our lap, which one I went outside for a glass of water before. But the most logical explanation for me with this is that they are. Because they don't have to interpret the law this way, Nina, do they?
The thing is, we don't know the nuances of the case. And let's face it, Keir Starmer made very clear at Prime Minister's questions today that this was an aberration. They thought it was wrong. The Home Office are fighting it, and they're finding every way to close whatever loophole there is. So everybody who is in a position of authority is agreed that this shouldn't... So the gates are not open to Gazans. They will not be open to Gaza. They will not be open to every person fleeing conflict in every portion of the globe. So that is going to be stamped upon. That will not take place. So, you know, we are kind of scaremongering. The Telegraph is keen on scaremongering. And get the facts right. Look, you know, that you've got to look at it dispassionately. The law is there to be...
I don't feel it dispassionately, Nina, and the reason I don't feel it dispassionately, Nina, is because when I go outside and I open my eyes and I see this country changing and I see it getting less safe, and I talk to friends who are Jewish and they tell me about the abject fear that they feel going out and about. And I see ruling after ruling after ruling of things like this. And I think we are committing national suicide. And I feel that very deeply.
There are thousands of rulings every week. And these are a handful of cases. They may be aberrations, and this guy may be interpreting the law in the way he sees it. But you can't accuse him of being an activist just because his father was a Guardian journalist, for heaven's sake. Very often children rebel against their father. It doesn't go down the line. Okay. It does not go down. So you can't just say he's a lefty champagne socialist. You haven't. I know his name doesn't help him at all, obviously.
Well, I would argue that the judgments.
No.
I take your point there, but yeah.
But there are positions in law that we don't know about that these cases may have come. We've been given the broad brushstrokes.
Right. Patrick, I feel like we're living in a country now where the criminal and illegal immigrants are put before the people of this country.
That's not true. That's not true.
It is.
Well, let's pop a pin in this for now.